Hello, Namaskar, and welcome to a very special evening. Um, and it's really indeed my pleasure and my privilege to be here today and presenting a new aspect of creativity, literature, and I'm truly honored that. We are actually doing this on my Facebook page, and which is something beyond music, but then everything that is in harmony, when everything, the thoughts, when they come together, they actually make beautiful symphony, they make beautiful harmony, they sound like music or they read like music. And honestly, I didn't even know a word like drabble exists. For me, I play Scrabble and I'm pretty good at it, and at least I beat Mr. J many times. So that's all I knew about the word. That's how close I came to Drabble. And once when I was introduced in Hyderabad, is November May, and I was told that this is the book and this and that. So I was like, okay. And like all normal Indians, we take a little while to accept anything that is new. And you kind of want to breathe, you want to wait, you want to open your mind. And it took me a little while to understand, and I feel, but that's normal. It helps me to feel it's human to do that. But once you dive into it and once you realize that what a wonderful world this is, and especially keeping in times with today's scenario, when everything is about social media, everything is about crisp, one emoji should express what the whole sentence is supposed to do. That's how we use a WhatsApp, or that's how we are using our social media digital platforms. Just one word cryptic, and one line, three words, and you're supposed to, the whole world is supposed to know what you really mean. And in this scenario, this family has come up with such an excellent collection during these pandemic times. And especially for me, this means a lot because मुझे ऐसा लगा कि मैं उत्साह कर रही हूँ, पता नहीं मैं क्या तीर मार रही हूँ. और of course कल 225 एपिसोड हुए हैं, and it is something we should all be very proud of. But when you open your mind and then you realize there's so many other people who are beautifully expressing, they are doing many wonderful contribution. And artists actually always respond to a situation, and in adversity they respond even more creatively, and that will never stop. It has happened in the past, it will continue to happen in the future also. But this is something, or this evening, I would like to really share the joy of reading. And much before that, I just like to bring in my friend who's a journalist, who's been a journalist. When he was in Hindustan Times, I became friends with him. He's of course worked for the Times of India. He also writes for Asian Age. He's now a freelancer. In between, he was doing also BBC radio in Hindi. And of course he's an avid film watcher, critic, avid music lover, and that's why we bond. And sometimes when I'm in Delhi along with him, I go and watch these films along with all these journalists, and it's a different feeling. You're sitting with all these journalists who actually write a review and give you stars, 2 stars, 3 stars, 5 stars. So I've watched some films with him, I don't remember, but yeah. We bond over art, and that's how our friendship has grown for since 2002. And Arnab, I'd like to welcome you, Arnab Banerjee. And people, what's up, Parivar? Like we always give everybody a big thumbs up. Please request you to give a big thumbs up. And thank you, Shilpi Ravi, for being here. So nice to see Utsa is extending the periphery beyond music too. Thank you so much. Lots of love. Back to you, Shilpi. I was really hoping you would join. Welcome, Arnab. आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है, and you're looking very
Thank you so much. My pleasure and my honor.
And what you really have a dapper look today, and like you know, dapper look. Sorry, देखा ना, इंग्लिश का जब नर्वसनेस होता है ना, तो ऐसी बैंड बजने लगती ना माइंड में, लगता है एवरीथिंग इज
दिमाग में है ना.
नहीं बहुत but thank you so much for joining in. और आज का जो आज की जो evening है, it's really started with you discussing along with us, and then I said, why don't we use our Utsaah platform? Yes, it's going beyond Utsaah. That's why my hairband is missing, and hope my antennas are up and receiving all the information from all of you. And but thank you very much for being here. And just I just like you to give me in one line your experience after reading this book. The book, which of course is A Symphony of Drabbles, which is the book written by three generations.
Yeah. To be very honest, I did know a little bit about Drabble. I just knew that it's been used as science fiction. And although it is something that is not known popularly among book lovers, yet it was something completely new for me, a new experience. I mean, I don't think I can express myself in 100 words. I mean, we do write Facebook posts, we do write, WhatsApp posts, and we think we're doing a great creative job. But having gone through these 86 stories, I was completely bowled over. And I'm so glad that you shared this book with me. Your PR agency called me and they said, if you would like to review this book. And I was completely bowled over. I mean, there is no other word.
Thank you, Arnab. And I think it's time that we, before we, kind of divulge more about this book, let's get these fantastic three generation of writers who are right here with us, joining in from Gurgaon, Delhi, then sorry, Gurugram now, and Hyderabad, and so let's get them here. And as उत्साह परिवार आपको पता चल रहा है ना, आज मैं बहुत नर्वस हूँ, and so please bear with me. And but I'm feeling very lucky also to be sharing this platform, because I realize when you interact with people who are superior to you, you learn, and that's how I'm going to be childlike, student-like, to learn and imbibe. So let's please give them a very very warm thumbs up to Bishan Sahai, a retired business manager who has held board level productions in leading Indian corporates, who also writes on management related subjects. A science graduate, he has studied business management from Delhi University. Now he lives in Gurugram. Also, he is somebody who's really witty and very, very amazing sense of humor in his writing. And I'd like to also welcome the extremely erudite and expressive and emotional author Ruchi Ranjan, holds a doctorate in child psychology from University of Delhi and is trained counselor as well. She has taught psychology in Delhi University and in Government Degree College, Hyderabad. She has published numerous research papers in reputed journals. At present, she works with marginalized children in select schools of Hyderabad. And of course, here comes the star. Ishika Ranjan is a student of grade 11 in Hyderabad. Her favorite subject at school include English literature and mathematics. God knows what all she does. And an avid reader, she has a panache for writing. Her creativity is channelized through photography, experimenting with new recipes, sketching, and music. And really, if you read the book and you read the stories that they have penned, this brief biodata, which is printed on the book, doesn't do justice, because they are far beyond what they really have expressed, the way they've expressed, the way they've used language. And to be very honest, it's a huge challenge to do that in that format. So I'd like to first ask Ruchi ji, how did you even think about writing in drabbles? Does it not actually kind of restrict your
Asking? Ruchi.
thought process.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Namaskar, Durga ji.
Namaskar.
Arnab, Banerjee, to
Thank you.
our
Namaskar.
team, and to all those who are watching the live presentation. First and foremost, I would like to thank you so much, Durga ji, for providing us with this blessed platform and to discuss our book. Uh, it's really an honor for us to be talking about the book in your presence and with the expert guidance of Mr. Arnab Banerjee. He has read our book and we had a talk the other day.
What is Ruchi saying?
I'm really thankful to you. So, Jai Ho.
Jai ho. So sweet. Jai ho. So my first question, Arnab, I'll just ask one
Yeah,
or
yeah,
two.
please go ahead.
Yeah. My
Please.
first question to Ruchi ji being that the concept of Drabble is new. And I just want to change the word of not being popular is the fact that it is new, and it is the minute it's going to be discovered by more and more people in India, it is going to be a rage, and this is going to be set the this book is going to set the trend, and it's already something that we can relate to. As I said, social media and everything has helped us to read everything in precise short formats. But Ruchi ji, please elaborate on what is Drabble and how did it really how did you really decide about doing a book on Drabble?
So, see, this idea of writing Drabbles, it originated in the year 2016. I was introduced to it by my husband. So, and we are members of a book club here in Hyderabad. So, in which every month we discuss some topic, we discuss some book. So, in one such meeting, we thought that we will discuss about this new concept of drabble writing. So, drabbles are nothing but short stories, but in 100 words precisely. So, it cannot be 99, it cannot be 101. So that was a challenge. Now, first, like everyone else, I thought, how is it possible to write 100 word story? I mean, my husband who initiated me into it, he said to give it a try. Then I wrote my first story in the book, which is The Call of the Wild. Now, the first draft, it was 350 words. Then I tried to edit. Then the maximum the next day it went to 200. Then
Wow.
after that, I just gave up. I said, no, it is just not possible. How much can I cut? The whole essence will go. Then again, he didn't say anything. So you try, keep trying. Then for 2 days, I was demotivated and didn't do anything. But then in psychology, we have a word called, which is called the Zeigarnik effect. So that is when you leave something incomplete, then you try to remember that, you go back to that, because it doesn't give you that satisfaction. So I went back to it, and after the fourth day of the day, I edited it to exactly 100 words. And I feel now when I look back, though there were many things that I wanted to write in that story, but Drabble is something in which we cannot find. So it has to be a single character, a single location. And if we want to write more, then we can write a short story. But this 100 word story also, it is conveying, it is quite meaningful. The story has to be coherent, it has to be engaging. And now when I go back to it, I find that it is good enough. I mean, so
I
that.
mean, together you've done incredible work. And as you said, it has to be precisely 100. And within that 100, because it is a story, you are introducing, you are, you have a like a scenario which is in the middle, and then you have a climax, and then the story is over. So that whole graph has to come together. And I'd like it's very, very well done. I mean, I'm so blown by it, and honestly, I'm being very, very honest. Arnab, I request you to take this over. Please don't mind me butting in between, because I'm pretty charged up, because as you can see on my face, I've read a book.
You don't have to be modest.
I know.
We want you to butt in every now and then. But welcome everyone. I think, start asking Mr. Sahai first. You know, the whole process has been such
Asking.
that I'm sure it is also very time consuming in a way, because restricting yourself to just 100 words is not just a challenge. I mean, one also needs to have a lot of vocabulary, a lot of patience, a lot of creative, inputs need to be there. So I'd first like to ask him, how did he restrict? How did he like the idea of restricting himself to just 100 words? Because it is a big, very big challenge.
Should I reply now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Reply.
Reply.
Huh.
Hello. Yeah, the process, actually the stories that I wrote, they were already there, but there was no count of words. And I had to average them. That was quite an enjoyable exercise.
Okay. Okay.
So it was a novel exercise because normally we are quite liberal with the usage of words.
Right. Right.
And to restricting your expression to a few words, that's quite a taxing exercise.
Right. It is. So, did you read a lot of Drabble earlier in your earlier days? Were you aware of Drabble writing earlier? Were you aware of the format, what Drabble writing entails? I'm particularly interested in knowing this because not many among the youth would know what Drabble is still. I mean, of course.
I had no clue. Until Ruchi told me about that. She introduced me to Drabble.
Okay.
Earlier, she had inducted me into something that was called the Lilliput Novel Club, which was also something like that, but I don't remember if there was a word limit there.
Okay.
But Drabble was quite a new thing for me. But I find it is not so new because I find it in the dictionary also.
Right. Right. So, did it excite you, the very thought of writing a 100-word story?
Hello.
Did it
It was
excite you?
quite an exciting experience. It's quite a challenge.
What do you think is a real challenge
Hmm.
in writing a Drabble? Where does the challenge really lie?
It was a challenge. The real challenge. The challenge, well, as I say it, is to convey an idea or an event meaningfully with the strict rationing of verbiage.
Right.
That is the challenge. Because,
And was it fun too? Is it also fun?
Okay. Okay.
Is it also fun?
Oh, yeah, it was fun. Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
But it's a new exercise.
Okay. But given a choice, you are used to writing business, writing, you work with such great organizations. Given a choice, would you work on a short story or still go back to writing Drabbles?
Well, it is quite normal and attractive proposition to write a story in the normal manner. In fact, one embellishes them with more words that are really necessary. And
Right.
choosing a Drabble format that requires some discipline.
Okay.
Where each one, the long story and the short Drabble, each has its own place.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So, Ruchiji, would you take over and tell us, what is the
I
real?
just I want to just take some questions. Shilpi Ravi has asked, is it a micro version? Is Drabble a micro version of short stories? So Shilpi Ravi
अच्छा,
has
ये
a
क्या आ
question.
गया?
So if Ruchi ji can answer that, please.
Yeah, should be. Okay, so yeah, of course, Drabble is, it comes in the category of microfiction. So you see, under microfiction, we have got many. So we have got a 50-word story also, which is called a dribble. And in Drabble, this is a 100-word format, you see. So microfiction, there are many categories. And then there are more also between 500 to 1,000 words also something is called. But Drabble is it comes into the category of microfiction. Yes.
All of you, if you wish to ask questions, I'm going to be today reading your questions, and I'm sure the authors are happy to answer. And one
Okay.
question for Ishika from my side. You really have amazing sense of drama, running in your head. So would I mean, everything has a cinematic feel have written. So my question is more like in the sense, when you think, do you actually have a visual reference to it?
No, most of the time, most of my writings are influenced by the world around me, like the type of books I read, the movies I watch. Like personally, I'm a huge fan of Harry Potter and the Dan Brown books. So and obviously the people around me also they're too into sci-fi and thrillers. So my writings are influenced by that mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So most of my work are thrillers, soft sci-fi, horror, and that's the type of books I like to read. So this is what I write in mainly.
Mm-hmm. And you started to write at the age of 7.
I used to write long stories then, but in the lockdown, along with my mother, she roped me into writing Drabbles with her. So since
Uh-huh.
I've been writing these 100-word stories.
Wow, quite something.
Wonderful. That's really amazing. Yeah.
So Arnab, please. Mm.
Okay. So, I'd like to first understand from Ruchi ji. Of course, you have taught psychology. So, does that play an important part in, being a writer as well? Because you not only have to have a vision, a clear vision, the story also must have a beginning, a middle, and also an end. There has to be some kind of a resolution as well. I mean, you can't just have a 100-word story which does not lead to anything. So, what do you think is most important for people who are A, writers, and who are B, travel writers? Do you think we all require some special gift to be able to write or travel well?
Yeah. See, the difference between the both Drabble and the short story, they are stories in a way. So they should have a proper beginning, a middle, and an end. The only difference between a Drabble and a short story is that in Drabbles we have to confine ourselves to 100 words, and so we have to keep in mind that while we are writing, the story has to be coherent and it has to be engaging. And so what happens is that we cannot give lots of details. So like in a story we will elaborate upon a particular, like if it is a natural setting, if it is a nature we are talking about, then in a short story we'll have the liberty of extending that description. But in a Drabble, I think we can do away with one single line and one single character. In a story, we can introduce 2, 3 more characters and keep talking about them. But in Drabble, we can't, and that's fine, fair enough, I think, because a Drabble is a different concept, different format of writing altogether, and a short story is a different. So the same story can be converted into a longer story also. So that's how it happened.
But one needs to be more observant because,
So that one has to be observant. One has to have his or her eyes and ears open, and you should have a keen eye. You should be able to have the minute details also. One has to be observant.
Keep in mind, right? So I noticed that one of your stories, which is the Rainbow Girl, one of the stories in the book, it also reflects your innermost feelings to a great extent. I mean, I asked you the other day that does one need to travel a lot? Does one need to experience a lot to be able to write a drabble well? Because short story can be written by many others. I'm not saying writing short stories is easy, but definitely writing a drabble is much, much more difficult. So where does that stem from? I mean, your observation skills, your whole experience, and your noticing of minute details. So if you could just tell some people who are eagerly watching and probably trying to learn how to write a drabble well.
Yeah. So I will answer this question in the context of that story which you are talking about, the Rainbow Girl. Can I first read it?
Yeah, please. I would want you to read it. Yes.
The story is titled The Rainbow Girl. Now, 100 words do not include the title. So they start from now. In case you're counting. A for
Okay.
apple, B for ball. Bhagya repeats rhythmically. And eyes brighten as I conduct the Rorschach ink blot test. The black ink card elicits the response. It's a rainbow, but the colors have faded. As the bell rings, she rushes out of school to join her friends. Raising the inflatable minions up towards the clouds, she pauses by every waiting vehicle on the busy intersection. Winding up for the day, she looks up at the sky and sees an actual rainbow. Jumping with glee, she reaches her home, a shelter for street children, hoping tomorrow will be another day. So, this is the story about a street child, a street girl. See, when Arnab is asking me that do you have to travel a lot to write? See, I would say traveling does not mean from one state to another, from one country to another. So it is traveling can be anywhere from one place to from one point to another. And I would say that even when I'm walking, I'm doing my morning walks. So that time also the story comes up. So when two people are talking, then also that story can come up. If you overhear other people talking, then also the story can. Most of my stories are on the basis of observation of people talking, or I'm overhearing, or this Rainbow Girl stemmed when I was traveling in my car. So generally, when I'm traveling, I do not browse through my phone. I have a tendency to look out of the window. So at the traffic signal in India, particularly, we find that many of these street children, they come up and they sell the balloons, the minions, the Doraemons, whatever, so to attract people to buy. Now, I have seen this girl selling the minions, and then at that point of time, the story did not come up. So when I came home in the night when I was sleeping, then I just thought about her, and I sent her to school. I wanted it to be a positive story. So I imagined that this girl goes to school too. So she is studying in school, and since I am from the psychology background, I brought this. The Rorschach ink blot test is the test of personality assessment, in which the ink blots are shown to uh, the whoever is being tested. So one of these cards is a black and white card. So this girl, she has her hopes and she has her aspirations. So though the card is black and white, but she imagines that there are colors in it, but they have faded. So her life, she feels her life, though it is not very happy. It's a very hard life which she's leading, but she wants to see color in her life. So that's why she imagines rainbow. Now, after the school gets over, then she joins her people, and then she starts selling the minions happily. And then what happens after she's winding up for the day? Then she sees an actual rainbow, and that her joy knows no bounds. So these small pleasures of life, they gave her tremendous joy. So apparently hops off to the shelter home for street children. So in this, yes, if you observe, the observation part comes in quite a lot. You have to understand her feelings, what she's going through. Yes, so I would say that my study of psychology has definitely helped me to understand human behavior better. Of course, there may be others who don't understand, who have not studied psychology. I'm not saying that. It's a tendency of people who think along these lines. There are many.
I'd like to take one question from the audience. It was very well said, Ruchiji. Very, very well said. Beautifully explained the story behind the story. Story behind the Drabble, actually. Pinky Call has asked why it is restricted to 100 words only. I just want to say that Drabble is like, if you think about our music, हमारे 3 ताल में 16 मात्रा होते हैं, तो वो 16 मात्रा के अंदर ही आपको बंदिश गानी होती है, आप उसमें 14 मात्रा नहीं कर सकते, then you're gone off. So there is a certain discipline which you have to explore. The magic also lies in the fact that you have to create that magic within that discipline 100 words. And when it is a creative challenge, but once you accomplish it, there is something like every time you feel like, wow, it's happened. And that's how I was kind of responding to each and every story. It was really amazing. It is about, even if you take a rag, you have a certain permutation combination of स्वर which make a rag. अब वो राग के अगर आपने कोई भलता, हमारे मराठी में कहते हैं भलता सुर लगा दिया, तो वो राग के बाहर जाता है. तो इसमें इस ड्रैबल में भी एक बहुत खूबसूरत डिसिप्लिन है, जिसको आप if you cross it, then you're out of drabble. Or if you restrict it, like what just Ruchi ji just explained, that if it is 50 words, it's a dribble. So that's another thing I've learned today, not just a drabble, but there's also a dribble. And I'd love to know from Ishika if she's even thinking about a dribble.
I mean, I've kept writing long stories in the past, and only in the lockdown, I had roped in with my mother and my grandfather to write these drabbles. And in the future, I think I would like to continue writing both, because I'm still writing drabbles for our Facebook page and to continue with this. But side by side, I also write long stories and articles which I send to newspapers. And I'm also an editor on my school magazine. So for that too, I write articles. So I'll keep doing both simultaneously.
You're an amazingly talented young lady. And there are many favorites of mine which I am just going to read. And I wish another very important question. Sorry, Arnab, one more question is, how did normally writing a book or doing music a very introspective, sometimes a very lonely experience of creativity, until after which actually you present it to the world and then you share that art with the rest of the world. But here, as a family, 3 different generations, normally people say that there are generation gap hai, हमारा thought process नहीं मिलता है. लेकिन when you read the book, you actually feel there is, ये एक सुर में हो रहा है सब. And that's why I think very, very nicely put. You've used the word symphony. I can relate to that melodic structure somewhere. Would you like to tell us how did 3 generations come about? Because one is a drabble. Second is that it was not just one person writing it. There were 3 generations coming together to do one book.
I'll take up this question. So this thing happened. So though we have been writing drabbles, I have been writing from 2016. But for Ishika, this was the first go at drabble writing, and this happened during the lockdown, roping her in and the grandfather. So it was actually, to be more precise, it was day 59 of the lockdown. So we were just sitting, it was one of those mundane evenings. So when Ishika and I were just sitting outside and we had nothing pressing to do, and we were just looking at the clouds going by. And when suddenly Ishika remarked that, see this one dark cloud, it looks like a coronavirus. So, and the sun was setting, and it was a very bright sun. And then she said, "Can't this sun eat up the coronavirus? This monster-like cloud." And then on the right side, there were the blooms. At that time, the gulmohar flowers, they were lost name blooming. So, and then she looked at those flowers, and then she smiled and she just moved back. So now this little thought, what she said, it stayed in my mind. So that was a positive trigger to our literary journey. So then we took a picture. I took a photograph of that shot, and then I was thinking that this can be made into a drabble easily. So, and the positivity, both the negative, the dark cloud of coronavirus. So it had a silver lining for us. They say every dark cloud has a silver lining. So, and then so I asked her then, Shelby, because she had nothing at that time, the lockdown, she was in 10th grade and her exams had got cancelled and she was totally free. There was nothing else to do. So, and there was no social interaction. So I thought to channelize her creative energy in a positive direction, I asked her, and then because she was writing long stories, then she agreed to this. And let me tell you that she was much more quicker and faster than me in writing a drabble. For me, my first drabble took me a week's time, but for her, it didn't take so much time.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but my question is that when there are three different generations, usually it is to believe, it is to be believed that there is a generation gap. And I love the way Ishika is smiling year to year. she and there is a generation gap, but artistically coming together, there is also, there is a lot of camaraderie there. There is a lot of soul connect there, which just, it's not just because you're related or just because you're biologically related. Also, sometimes it may not happen. Artistic pursuits are very, very individual, a journey. वेरी सो आप तीनों ने मिलके एक किताब की, तो उसके पीछे कैसी सोच थी? बिकॉज दिस कुड हैव बीन डन बाय यू अलोन, रुचि जी और इशिका और मे बी बिशन जी ऑल्सो, सो मगर आप तीनों ने मिलके किया, उसमें भी एक बहुत अच्छा बॉन्डिंग है, इसीलिए मुझे सिम्फनी उसमें दिख रही है.
Exactly. Yeah, you're so right about it. So yeah, I could have written, in fact, when I have been writing since 4 years, I could have published my own book. But then in the lockdown, so when we were together, the bonding strengthened actually during the lockdown. And then the grandfather also, though he has hearing problem, so but he writes quite, he's an avid reader and he writes well too. So we were communicating through text only. And so then I thought that when my mother and the daughter, they're getting together, why not include the third, the first generation, the grandfather also? Then I talked to her. At first she said, no, my imagination will not, it's not very good. No. I said, no, but you write very well too. So then he agreed, and that is how I thought this idea that it came up at that time, that why not the three of us together, we can produce more engaging stories and from three different perspectives of three different generations. So that came into my mind. So I think the creativity enhanced during the lockdown period. So to think more. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's really amazing. And I mean, you have made the most of the time that was made available, and to also express in a very positive light. And of course, also in a very disciplined manner. The word Vishanji used was discipline. Drabble is also discipline of 100 words. And it's amazing. Can I request Ishika to read one of her classics, A Whole New World? Would you please read that for us? और उत्साह परिवार हम लोग आज कैसे सब लोग we are getting to know about a new world totally, and maybe that's why she's reading out A Whole New World. But this is a new world for us, and it's always very exciting to actually understand how the artistic world has different shades to it and different ways of expressing. So if you're ready, please.
Yeah. So the story is titled A Whole New World. Our lives have been a lie. The experiments and satellite images were incorrect. Climate change had altered the face of the earth. Going out of one's house is impossible. No, not because of the coronavirus. This is something completely different. This is the end of everything we have ever known. Save yourself from a fall into oblivion by not stepping out. It's the end. Live news flashed warnings. After years and years of research, the Flat Earth Society finally rejoiced. It had been proven that the Earth was flat. It was time to see the world in a new shape.
मैडम, आपको ये सब कहाँ से ध्यान में आता है? आपके कहाँ से ये सोच आती है?
बेसिकली ज्योग्राफी में पढ़ा है कि पहले people used to think that the earth is flat, but it had been proved. So I was just thinking, what if it was actually flat? And I used current topics like the coronavirus and climate change to say, maybe because of climate change, the earth became flat now. So it's just my imagination that bringing a negative light to climate change, also saying that the earth may become flat like that.
Yeah, what I really appreciate, you just said that geography mein padha people used to earlier think, but you actually put it in the contemporary context, and that's why it just feels so beautiful, and it's really very your writing, as I said, has an extremely it's dramatic. It's very, very dramatic, and it has a visual reference all through and through. So Arnab, please. Thank you for reading out to us. Thank you, Ishika.
Arnab's audio is off. Arnab has to unmute.
Arnab, your audio is off.
Yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yes.
So I'd like to ask Ishika, at a time, girls her age are busy watching Salman Khan movies, or, they are on WhatsApp, and, there are all kinds of activities which youngsters do. They're busy working on their laptops. What is it, that makes her observe so acutely and then pen down stories? Of course, it runs in her genes. That's one of the things that has, she's inherited. But what do you think takes someone like you to become a writer first? I mean, Drabble, of course, later, but what is it that, makes you different from girls your age?
Well, I'm an avid reader in general, and I've been writing since a very young age. Because in school, when we used to have to write essays for English class or something, I used to take up the exercise with a lot of excitement. And all my teachers used to encourage me and used to say that I write really well. So I think that was a pushing point in my writing journey. So not only for school, but I kept writing at home because I received positive feedback and my family has always encouraged me. And as it is, I read a lot, so I would also want to write.
Okay. So is it something that you want to take up full-time later as a profession, you're writing, as a career?
But I can always write part-time for newspapers, send in my articles and all that.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to ask Durgaji one question. You beautifully brought about the analogy between music and writing. Of course, under fine arts, be it literature, be it music, cinema, sculpture, theater, they're all related. Now, going back to music, which you started from, one would sing a Bada Khayal for 45 minutes or a Chota Khayal for less than that. But then in the 30s came film music, which was a 3.5-minute song. And of course, these days you have all kinds of music being churned out, and we keep seeing them on YouTube. So, it's a very good analogy that you brought about. Jingles could be just a 60-seconder or a 30-seconder. But here, I think the challenge is to restrict yourself to talking about an issue, and also seeing to it that it is also resolved somewhere. So there is a link somewhere. And of course, music, of course, also unbound. There is no restriction here. But in writing, I think if Ishika would elaborate on this, or Ruchiji would like to elaborate on this, writing, of course, poses special challenge. I mean, I'm not saying music is easy, equally difficult, but then here there is also a technique involved, where you have to just put your pen down after 100 words.
No, see, yeah, I know. The thing is that the first draft, whenever we write, it was never 100 words. It is
It is never 100. Okay.
So it is editing, re-editing further. And as I said earlier, so in a Drabble, we are talking about a single character, a single location, a single plot. So if I want to write more, if I want to elaborate upon it, then I will not go for the Drabble format. I would like it now write a longer story. And I didn't feel that I was constricting myself. Yes, my first Drabble did make me feel this, as you are saying. But as I got the hang of it, then I found that it was fine. It was, I mean, I was able to say what I wanted to say. The main thing got conveyed, and it
Mhm.
came out in the form of a story, the proper beginning, a middle, and an end, and a very coherent and a very engaging story, which people do have the feeling of completion after reading one particular story. Feedback which we have got, they say that yeah, we felt the story is complete, and in some cases, they took it up as an exercise with their whole family. Ki, what could have happened before, and what could have happened later after this ended. So they have engaged in this kind of exercise, our readers, at home with their family. कि इसके बाद क्या हुआ होगा, क्या हो सकता है. So we left it wherever it is open-ended. Then there is scope for imagination by the reader.
So is it also very important to have a very rich vocabulary to be able to write a Drabble well?
Well, we do. It gives us an opportunity to discover new words, and because we can't write in a whole sentence, so the urgency to discover new words, it creeps in. So yes, a little bit of vocabulary, yes, it has to be there, but not that one has to resort to a dictionary, and every reader has to consult the dictionary for those kind of words. And not very difficult words, but which connect us with the audience well. Transcending all the barriers of region or location. So that kind of a vocabulary we have used, and it is not.
Okay.
It's a very simple and easy to read book which has come out. So as you can see, that vocabulary is important, but not as important as
One of your stories, which is my personal favorite, is Mothers and Daughters, which we also discussed that could actually be a short story or a novel. So if you could just read that for us, ma'am.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the story is titled "Daughters as Daughters."
Mothers and Daughters. Sorry, yes.
Undaunted, she drove all the way to the Godavari river bed. In the patriarchal setup, which predominantly eulogized on the birth of a son, here was a daughter taking charge. Transcending the taboos imposed by society, she carried the earthen pot of her father's ashes for immersion. Keeping herself afloat on the wobbly coracle, she held on to the pot. The boat paused in the middle of the river. With a heavy heart, she let it go. Life comes full circle. She moved ahead, a snail on the shore, back bearing a tough exterior. She was down, but not out.
Beautiful. I think it conveys so many feelings. I mean, it talks about so many things, all in 100 words. So how did this idea come about?
Well, this story is autobiographical.
Yes, I thought so.
Yeah. So this was and I have deliberately named it as Daughters as Daughters. So we are two sisters. We don't have a brother. And from the childhood, our parents have brought us. And they have never discriminated between a boy and a girl. So they have given us, the girls, our own rights, our own identity. So that's why deliberately I title it as Daughters are Daughters. It is not a daughter is more than a son, or daughters as sons. Why should we compare? We should not be comparing a daughter. Daughter is a daughter in her own right. She has her own feelings. She has her own identity. She has her own emotions. That is why it was titled like this. So carrying the father's ashes to the Godavari for immersion. She was emotionally, the emotional feelings were there, uh, when we go to the Godavari River, I was not prepared for it. There was a coracle. So I thought it would be a normal boat, but it was a coracle. So you are holding onto the pod. And then, the driver who went with me, so in Andhra, that custom is there. So he says that his wife is there and she also doesn't have any brother. So the driver said that he became a son for the family. So he was the son. And so, and he was there with me, and I was, those kind of feelings they came back to me. And then when I have done the emotion, that I'm coming out, and then I see a snail on the shore. So I'm comparing myself to the snail with the tough exterior. Of course, I am down, but I'm not out. The life goes on. So
Right. It makes such a strong social statement, and it's philosophical in more ways than one. Ishika, is any of your stories something that you would like to elaborate as a full story, as a short story later?
I
I
I
mean, does
want to
that
ask I want to ask her about one story.
please?
Best friend no more. Another.
Right. I
It's a
like, yeah,
it's an epic. It can be a feature film. It
yeah.
says so many things. So I want to first ask her what was she thinking when she wrote this.
Or should I read it out first?
Yes,
Uh,
please.
you can you can probably first okay, read it out and then please explain the thought process behind.
Yeah.
So the story is titled Best Friend No More. The long wait was finally over. In 5 minutes, the clock would strike 12, ushering in a year of new hopes, dreams, and promises. The party was in full swing, loud, boisterous music enlivening the crowd. Looking across the bright dance floor, I glimpsed a very familiar face. She appeared to be my best friend from middle school. All agog, I ran and threw my arms around her, pulling her into a huge hug. I was flabbergasted when she pushed me towards the corner by my best friend. We stared at each other in disbelief. She was someone else. So this story is basically like in real life, normally, sometimes you mistake somebody to be somebody you know. And well, it's an embarrassing situation. So like this, I imagine myself to be at a party where I thought that some other lady was my best friend and looking from middle school. So from looking at her, I got a little excited and I ran to hug her. And well, obviously, I didn't know her, but she looked like my best friend. So she was obviously shocked when I hugged her and she pushed me away because some stranger was hugging her.
Wow. This actually
Wonderful.
you to imagine your own story. For me, it was like times had changed and she became somebody really a big star and she just changed as a person. So that best friend was no that person whom you knew who was your best friend was no more. It was somebody else who had overtaken the same body, and so it really opens up a lot of thought processes. So, and you always leave your story at a point where you actually kind of push your reader to imagine their own story ahead. Like in my case, like I said, yeah, could be that I actually imagined this part also. The other part I felt maybe in world how times change, one person just goes on a success story and becomes a star and they forget and they just disconnect with their past. They want to deliberately, they don't want to be related to their past for whatever reasons. So they want to be in that bubble of name, fame, and whatever that has to
Very.
offer. So yeah, so it was, I really loved it. I really loved it from
Yes,
bottom.
it is a beautiful story. Yes, undoubtedly.
Beautiful.
Uh, can we talk about the pandemic? Of course, we all know pandemic has taught us many lessons. Of course, art and artists, I would say, has used this most creatively. I mean, I don't know of any other organization which has done so much work in the past 10, 11 months. But yes, a big, big, big round of applause for art and artists, the entire team. But tell me, Ruchika ji, did pandemic play or lockdown play an important role? Because I believe these 86 stories, you're paying a tribute to your favorite writer. If you could just tell us a little bit about that.
yeah, so See, the first feeling would come that if it is Drabbles 100-word stories, and the story should be 100 only. But then we stopped at 86 because we are fans of Ruskin Bond, and he turned 86 this May.
In 2020, yes.
So as a tribute to him, so we stopped at 86. In fact, one of the stories, The Mysterious Mr. Red, is
Yes.
is related to him because he is
Yes.
off the social media, he's off all technology, and you have to actually write to him and send it in the letterbox. So that story is dedicated to him, to Mr. Ruskin Bond. So, yeah, though I have been writing stories since 2016, but the lockdown brought us, the three of us, together, and many of these stories in the book, they are related to the lockdown. Even Ishika's stories, like the Yeti, and which one? The cheerleader.
Cheerleader, yeah.
So they are related to, I mean, how the pandemic has brought in such a situation where you grow your hair, I mean, your hair has grown, you can't, you have to cut your nails and everything, and it gives you a look of a Yeti that you are not able to recognize your own self. So that is what Yeti was about. And in cricket, there is no live cricket. I mean, you're not able to go and see the matches. So, and even the players are not, they are demotivated. They don't want to play because there is no audience. So that is the cheerleader story. So what was the, yeah.
Ruchiji, you've used horror thrillers as also one stream of writing, and I think you've really excelled in creating that the thrill element and the excitement and everything. Your dancing queen, your eccentric enigma, all these, both these stories are fantastic. I mean, for me, they are my personal favorites as well. So first, you could choose whichever story you'd like to read from one of them, and also tell us a little bit more about them.
Yeah.
So till the time your mother's getting ready, Ishika, I just want to you've used such words which have great phonetic values in the musical family. Musical family. You use such words and which actually they start resonating and they start. So how was the thought process? And then you just put these words together and then it says musical family.
I think when people talk about a drabble, they say that we can't use descriptions like sound and sights. So I wanted to prove that wrong. So in a story of just 100 words, I wanted to describe the sounds and sights that in a normal family dinner, these specific sounds and sights, to be expressed in 100 words in a drabble is also.
And you left your parents like feeling, I mean, they were supposed to be so mean that the kids have gone running away and the parents are happy they've gone, they hope they return late. What were your parents thinking in the story? Yeah? Not in real life, I know them. So what were they thinking in the story, those characters?
Just to put a comical twist at the end, that the children were so annoying that the parents, they were so happy when they finally got.
Okay, because that was such an unusual twist. I said like, ye kya likhti hai yaar, kamal. Okay, please, Ruchi ji, please.
Yeah.
This eccentric enigma. 100-year-old observatory could not withstand the test of time. Long ago, it used to have several irons in the fire. Now, the dilapidated building and a broken wooden staircase stood creaking, a testimony to the sheer neglect. One morning, while walking through the campus, I found the usually deserted site brimming with activity. The watchman appeared frightened. He had seen a white, shrouded figure with frizzy hair walking up the steps of the observatory. The watchman became the butt of many jokes. But the lone cycle and the frizzy-haired wig, hidden away in the adjacent bushes, remained a mystery. So this story emerged while I was walking. I walk in that campus where this observatory is there in Hyderabad. So this observatory is very old. It's 100 years and it's in a very bad shape. So actually, this is more of a satire. It's just to wake up the authorities to the sheer neglect which something. So it's a good status. With the frizzy hair and the cycle. So this is symbolic of Einstein. Einstein is turning in his grave. He's hiding and he's seeing that. See, I mean, what it was before and what it has become now. So it is. So it is. Yeah, it's a mix of satire and mystery twist in the end. Like the cycle is there, and the frizzy hair symbolizes Einstein.
My question to Ruchi ji is the fact that you have these characters in your imagination, but while you're walking, you're also imagining the characters. आपको कभी अपने अपने thoughts से डर तो नहीं लगता
Most of my 6 of my stories have come out when I'm walking. Stories have come up the street. Even the director's cut in which there is a mentally challenged girl. So
very nice. And there you have used my grandfather's movie song, "Hai Malik Tere Bande Hum." So that's from Dua Ke Bara Haath. So I felt very connected.
Yeah.
So
Also,
Arnab,
I'd like to ask
one
Ruchi ji one
point
thing.
for Ruchi ji, you've used many of your stories to highlight animals' rights, literally. And I was very touched, by you've like not have one, but 3-4 of them, wherein you're talking about animals and how conservation and to understand their emotions and एक बार तो उनको हड़ताल ही करा दिया उन्होंने लॉक भी कर दिया दरवाजा so like animals empire strikes back, that is the one. Then you've had this playing with the panthers. Well, when you in the end you have said we missed you. It says a lot, that one line is actually it's huge. There's a universe there. So would you like to talk about how you passionately feel for this? But otherwise you cannot write these things.
Yeah. Yeah, I do feel. See, there is another story, Knock Knock, in which I've taken the sparrows.
Also with the birds, yeah.
Sparrows and sparrows are now becoming extinct because of the pollution and climate change. So yeah, of course I do feel about them. I do think from their point of view that what they are thinking, So in many cases, even this bite of the manas. So how we react to them, I don't know whether there are other people here who are watching. They believe in this superstition. If you see a mana, if you see 2 manas together, then it's a sign of joy, and if one, then it's a sign of sadness. So I used to be really mad about this, very superstitious about this thing. So but the poor manas, and you're shouting, oh, one is there, and oh, you're so happy then. So I wrote that story from that point of view. And yes, I do feel, and even the animal empire strikes back. So that we go to the park every day for walking, and there is a lot of greenery, and there are the peacocks, there are the squirrels, and suddenly somebody takes a decision that you're going to cut off the trees. Then how will the birds and the animals? How will they? They are living in harmony, the trees and the animals. So how? What impact will it have on them? So that is what made me write this Animal Empire Strikes Back. So
very nice, very, very nice, and very touching, and very it really struck a chord. And Shilpi Ravi, a renowned journalist from Kolkata, has a question from for Ishika. We have a concept of making short duration films and later club under a single reel. We have seen it earlier. So if Ishika is given the opportunity from Bollywood uh, uh, with stories Drabble, will she choose? Will she choose, and why so? Max 3. I don't know what max 3. Acha, which 3 stories would you choose? Probably must be that to make short movies.
I think mostly my story is real versus real, necklace or nose. They have been appreciated the most, so maybe those. And people have also said that they can be converted to short movies or small novels, so maybe those.
So,
Okay.
real versus real, would you like to read it out? Because that's also one of my favorites, and I've written it down. And so, she wants to know which 3 stories of yours, not just one.
Real versus real, then one more called necklace or nose.
Yeah, that's again a thriller.
Yeah, mostly my thriller stories.
And which is the third one?
Maybe whose script is it?
Which one? Sorry.
Whose script is it?
Whose script? That is also is my favorite. Yes. Whose script is it is beautifully written. Yeah. So please read out your real versus real.
Yeah.
22 years.
One second. Real versus real. Following the stream of black smoke, we departed from the road. Julia and I soon found ourselves surrounded by a dense forest. The cloud of impenetrable murky smoke led us to a decrepit house. The steady flame wasn't being tended to at all. Two burnt skeletal bodies lay outside. We had to act. Fast, frantically, we ran in search of aid. The sound of a running river guided us to a throng of people. How could they be so oblivious to the raging fire so near them? Angered, we confronted them. We were left red-faced. It was a movie shoot.
So, what according to you works best, for a Drabble? Wit, irony, satire, a fun element, or the twist in the end. I mean, or a bit of everything. Ruchi or Ishika, please.
I think what most people now consider a good rabble is the one with a twist at the end, which often leaves the reader bemused. So I think a type of humor, irony, satire, along with a twist, is what could maybe complete a rabble.
Okay.
And my
And
very
Ruchi,
one question for me is that how come there is no story which is a romantic story here?
It's not what I write.
No, I can ask your mother.
there's still time.
Grandfather can read what hurts most.
No, even I didn't write that. I was more, I mean, reaching the middle age, I think those things are gone.
Okay. Can Banerjee please read? Oh, sorry.
Vishanji.
So Bishan ji, sorry, Sahani की वजह से हो गया. I'm really sorry. माफ कर दीजिए. Bishan ji, can he please read what hurts the most? Can he read out? It's all his stories have a pun at the end, and it's a humorous at the end.
It's done. No, it's done. This is a story which is titled "What Hurts Most." This was my friend Malte, management consultant in her 30s, was returning from Missouri with two male colleagues after conducting a training program. They were waylaid by lathi-bearing hoodlums. निकालो क्या है तुम्हारे पास? So wallets were handed over quietly, and rings and bangles and watches were snatched. Now Malte sat through the ordeal, nervous and apprehensive, until one rogue came round to her side of the car and whispered, "Don't worry, Mataji, we only want money." Certainly, they were unscathed. The car was allowed to leave unhurt. Malte was livid, recounting the trauma to me. And she said, I can't imagine that oldie could call me Mataji.
Matlab, this is such a, he's taken such a jab at women, huh? Ki women don't mind giving money, jewelry, everything ले लो, मगर माता जी कैसे बोला, huh? हम माता दिखती. It's like I when I started reading this whole story, it was so, I really had a hearty laugh, really. Even his chichi is so funny. It's like really so funny. Everything he writes, even the Paris, the is that also is really
Mataji
funny.
ko was
Uh, Arnab, you would like to kind of say, because then we can sum up. Because I firstly, I just want to say that I'm really happy we did this, and I feel so very, very privileged to be doing this and reading the book first of all, and to be able to discuss it with you, to get an insight into the creative process of writing it, to understand the imaginative powers, and to limit and discipline yourself in that 100 words is magical. And it's an incredible piece of art. And like you have said, it's a symphony, and to me it's really a very, very rich symphony. And it, I'm sure, will open a loads of minds across generations for writers in India, and it is going to be the next big thing. And many congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Durga ji. Thank you, Mr.
I'd just like to ask one thing to both of you, ma'am, both Ruchi ji and Ishika. Now that we know a little bit about Drabble, I mean, I'm saying little bit because I mean there's a whole world out there that still needs to be explored. How would you say that, to all those people listening to you, all those readers who probably think that, writing Drabble would be as easy as just humming a familiar tune, a catchy tune? Would you give us three uh, things that are most important for writing a Drabble? Three most important aspects or three most important qualities that a person must have. You've already said observation. Your one's observation skills have to be great. Anything else that you would like to add for all those people who would probably start writing Drabble after listening to you?
Well, firstly, of course, there's the ability to express yourself in shorter words. So brevity is obviously a requisite for writing a Drabble.
Brevity.
Brevity is the soul of wit, they say. Yeah.
Yeah, brevity is the spice of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And observation, of course, and then organization is very important. So one sentence has to lead to the other. It has to advance the story. So organizational ability should also be there.
Okay. And what about empathy? I
Oh,
mean, in this fast world, changing times, I mean,
right.
people are in such a hurry. They don't stand and stare at anybody else, and they go about doing their own work mindlessly.
We should, yeah, we should have, we should observe alongside, understand people, and understand them, and be sensitive. So, and especially in today's generation, it is all the more required because the world is driven by technology, and people don't have time, and they are just on their phones and on their digital equipments, and they don't have time to talk to people and to mix up and spend quality time together. And these Drabbles and people have lost the habit of reading. And books are our best friends. So we tried to write these Drabbles because we wanted those who are not into reading books, or those who were, but now they don't find the time, seeing this book, The 100 World Stories, will not get intimidated by the size of the book, and they will say, oh, just
Yeah. Yes.
it will leave an impression upon them. It will have a lasting, it will linger in their memory, and slowly they will get, maybe they start reading the other storybooks also, which they have left behind. And for the younger generation who don't read, who are totally with this, and for them also, it is it's quite inspiring from what we have received. The reviews are great, and many people have said that even a child as young as 8 years old, she also started. She was very engrossed in her travels, and she
Wow.
she wrote her own story. And though
Okay.
not 100 words, let it not be 100 words, but at least she has. She's taking the pen, picking up the pen to write, and even an 80-year-old. So these are real life cases we have heard. after reading the book, they have.
Okay. So where do we go from here? More Drabbles in the future this year?
We are writing on our Facebook page. There is a Facebook page by the name of the book, and we've been writing on that. But I think with Ishika, she is writing the short stories also, and not really 100 words. So I think it will be a mix of both.
Okay. Okay. Look forward to reading more.
Thank you. Thanks, Arnab. Thanks, Durga ji, and thanks, Arnab.
Uh,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Arnab,
Thank
for
you so much.
joining in and making this such a special evening, and completely
Well,
a different evening from all the rest of the evenings that we've had so far. And this has been excellent experience. And thank you, three generation, really generations. And yeah, the book is, Our World, The Symphony of Drabbles by Three Generations. It's available on Amazon. We'll put the link.
Thank you.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, the link is there on the comment, which has been pinned up. Please, if you wish to buy it, please go ahead. Do encourage the people who have used their most challenging times of our lives, and I hope we don't see these times again, more constructively, because when you buy this, you bring in positivity, because people have used their time positively. And of course, as Utsa always does, we always promote the next generation. So Ishika is truly a star in the making. I can feel it, and when I feel it in my bones, usually by grace of God, it comes true. So I wish her all the best. And I will also brag that when she wrote Drabble, I actually spoke to her. So I have enjoyed reading the experience and the wit and the pun of, uh, you know, should not make a mistake again, but Bishanji. And I've really, really got emotional reading Ruchiji's, all her drabbles. And Ishika, of course, has she takes off on a creative zone, and she takes you along, which is like incredible talent, which very, very highly creative people have that strength, and she already is showing such great streaks. And Arnab, for you, you've always been my darling. I love you so much for
It's
everything that
completely my
you.
pleasure. It was an honor for me.
And for me too, completely an honor and privilege to be part of this session. It's for me, it's my very first anything to do with literature. ज्ञान की गंगा जहाँ बहती है ना, वहाँ मैं थोड़ा दूर रहती हूँ. But I have enjoyed this session so much, and hope we can do this more often, and looking forward to reading more, and experiencing these wonderful moments with you all. Thank you very much for joining in. And Utsa Parivar and everybody who's logged in here, thank you very, very much for coming here and making it special. I hope I was able to take up some good questions, because I was also getting carried away with all the session, but we will try to answer them after the session is over. So thank you all, and Jai Ho.
Yeah. Thank you.
Acha, thank you. Thank you.